Coming at you from Bellingham, Washington. This is Two Nuts in the Sack. I'm Julie.
I'm Gavin.
And today we're going to talk about the nuts that believe the earth is flat. We may be two nuts in the sack, but this is even nuttier than what we can handle.
Well, we're going to try anyway. So, flat earth theory has existed for a couple hundred years now. And all of it just seems like complete stupidity, honestly. I mean, it goes back to the ancient Greeks. I mean, I think it was uh, there were Greek philosophers that were like, well, the moon appears round, so the earth must be round as well. And many, many smart people went out to figure out and prove that. But it all comes down to this grand conspiracy. Illuminati.
Conspiracy! Dun dun dun.
New World Order.
Ooh.
We're going to order the planet in which is a flat surface.
Oh no.
Let's not do that.
No.
Because that's just stupid.
Stupid. So stupid.
Besides, if there was a flat surface Earth, where would the reptiles live? At the center of the flat Earth? If it's flat, how big is the center?
Nobody knows.
I don't know either. But quite seriously, there are a lot of people who do believe that the flat Earth is an actual thing. They think that NASA has sent us pictures that were doctored, showing that there's actually no curvature of the Earth. The Earth is simply a flat pancake with the North Pole at the center, Antarctica at the edges, and all of the continents are just sort of splayed around that. Basically, the flat Earth theorists believe that the Earth looks kind of like the symbol for the UN, if you've seen that, where it's like it's the map of the Earth, a global map of the Earth, spread out flat in a circular type pattern.
I wish people could see your hand gestures.
We'll work on that. But yeah, and then there's just a giant ice wall around the edges. And this ice wall is manned by NASA guards that basically kill anybody who approaches the ice wall. Even though we have a research station in Antarctica and you can literally go and visit it if you feel so inclined. You could sail around Antarctica.
What if it all melted? Would we just swim off the planet?
Oh yeah, because it still spins, but it's like a merry-go-round. What happens when you spin on a merry-go-round? You fall off if you spin too fast. But that's all horseshit. Sorry. We are globalists. We follow scientism, which is what many of the flat earthers claim, that we are indoctrinated with the false pretenses of science, and that we fall for the fake news, and you're just believing that because that's what they want you to believe.
Kevin, but they believe when they're walking around that it's flat, and so therefore the earth must be flat because it feels flat.
Well, yeah, but that's because the earth is fucking huge. So, I mean, like the long running joke is that If you live in Missouri, in the middle of the plains, you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. But that's not true. You could probably watch your dog run away for a day and a half, but after about a day and a half, even with a high-powered telescope, he's going to disappear because he goes over the curve.
Right.
And this brings us to the diehards, the people that believe this so much that they're willing to risk their careers or stake their careers or even willing to risk life and limb, like Mad Mike Hughes. Have you ever heard of Mad Mike Hughes?
No, I have not.
It's kind of a funny story. He holds the Guinness Book of World's record for the longest jump in a limousine.
Wow.
He jumped like 103 feet and some odd inches in a limousine, jumping off of a large ramp.
Dang.
So he's a little bit crazy and willing to risk life and limb. But as he got into later life, he's now in his 60s. He wanted to prove that we were living on a flat disc-shaped world using a homemade steam-powered rocket that was launched from a jerry-rigged platform attached to a motorhome that he bought on Craigslist. It worked after many, many attempts, but it finally worked. And he flew about 1,900 feet into the air and made a parachuted descent that was anything less than graceful. From a stretcher, he didn't die. He was able to live.
I was going to say, but did he die?
No, he lived, going 1,900 feet into the air, falling to the earth slowly but dangerously, crash landed into the earth, and from his stretcher, he was quoted as saying, "Do I believe the earth is shaped like a frisbee?" I don't know if he has a southern drawl, but it just seems fitting.
That works.
So he said, "Do I believe the earth is shaped like a frisbee? Yes, I do. Do I know that for sure? No. And that's why I want to go into space."
Because they don't believe anybody's been to space.
Right. And in all fairness, he also stated that this short trip was just sort of a proof of concept, meaning that he knew that he wasn't going to get high enough to actually see the curvature of the earth or see if it was just a flat pancake. But he wants to go to a height of 60 to 70 miles. So he's going to basically take this same jerry-rigged setup and put it into a balloon, like maybe like a dirigible, and reenact the same launch. So he's higher up and he'll be able to finally see whether or not there's a curve or it's a pancake. But there's been other people. There was Kyrie Irving, who was a basketball player. He played for the Boston Celtics. He was a point guard. And he informed us that on a clear and cold night in his hometown in southwestern Michigan, he was able to see the Chicago skyline.
Oh.
Well, that's over 50 miles away from where he was. So, how could that happen if the earth is curved? He said the Earth is flat. You know what? I'm not even gonna accent this one just because of like just social norms. But he said the Earth is flat. It's right in front of our faces. I'm telling you, the Earth is flat. It's right in front of our faces.
And pigs can fly.
They lie to you. The pigs can fly part was just like secondary. But no, the final bit of his statement was they lie to you. It's that ultimate conspiratorial they. The they that shall not be named or identified. Or who are you talking about they? Do you mean the government? Do you mean any scientist on the fucking planet? Do you mean your neighbor down the street who's like, oh yeah, the secret of the world? Yeah, just who's lying to you? Doesn't matter. Because the earth is flat. And they lie to you. And it's right in front of your face. Another leading flat earth proselytizer is Mark K. Sargent, who produced a series of videos called Flat Earth Clues, promoting that we were living in a Truman Show-esque, like a Truman Show-esque enclosed system.
Like the movie?
Yes, just like the movie. Good timing.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, just a Truman Show-esque enclosed system, which is hidden from the public. And like that movie, we're all wandering through our lives, oblivious to the big lie that we were all told. The earth is round. With so many conspiracies bouncing around the World Wide Web, why should this lie be any different? Like Kyrie Irving said, they lie to you. So maybe, just maybe, the earth is flat. Probably not. But these two fellas certainly believe in it. Most of these florons...
What's a floron?
I just came up with this. I don't know if it's been said before, and maybe it's somewhere in my subconscious, but they call us Globe-Tards, which is
Globe-Tards.
which is pretty horrible term. But if they call us Globe-Tards, they deserve an equally demeaning nickname. So florons is like flat earth morons.
Ah, it works. It really does.
Yes. Because moron is actually a medical term for a person with an IQ below 70.
Okay.
Which is where most of these people seem to be. Unfortunately, there's some that are actually smart, but still believe this nonsense. So, but for the purpose of argument, they're florons.
Okay, florons.
But most of these people ascribe to a book that was published at the peak of scientific inquiry and research. 1865. So yes, we were building a lot of really cool stuff, but as far as theoretical physics and our situation or our station and situation in the greater universe wasn't one of their long suits. But the book was entitled The Zedic Astronomy, Earth, Not a Globe. I like and I put these in there just so it like makes sense in my brain, but that's not it. It was literally Zedic Astronomy, Earth, Not a Globe. It was written by Samuel Robotham. This is where we get the model of a disc with the North Pole at the center Antarctica is an ice wall lining the perimeter. Sun, moon, and stars were and are all less than 1,000 miles away, much smaller than his scientific and astronomical predecessors had described, and proposed by his own scientific reasoning, or this one I actually would call scientismic reasoning, because he ascribes to this science, but it's pseudoscience. So, but all the flat earthers like to call us Globe-Tards, that we follow scientism, and we just believe so hard in science that we're scientismists. Anyhow, so it's the stars, the moon, and the sun, much smaller than actual scientists said that it would be. And
Don't they say the sun is closer to us than what it really is?
yes, they like it's less than 1,000 miles away. So I mean, it's still kind of on a grand scale, because people are like, well, I've driven 100,000 miles in my life. So how could I do that if there's only so much planet? So they still believe that the Earth is big, but they just believe it's flat. And through through Robotham's like calculations, who the hell knows how he got there, but he says that if the Earth was curved, it would be curved at a rate of 8 inches per mile squared, which should set up a big red flag, because that's not how you measure curvature. But that's a lot of math and science that I really don't want to get into. Anyhow, so he proved this false, because there's a drainage canal in the east of England. I think you know which one I'm talking about.
Right. What? Yeah, that was on the Lang River, right.
Right, and it was a basically like a canal that was arrow straight for 6 miles, and Robotham stood at one end, and he sent his buddy out in a boat, and the because this is a 6 mile stretch, he deduced, using his non-mathematical, pulled out of his ass calculation of 8 inches per mile squared, he deduced that he couldn't possibly have, if the Earth was curved, he couldn't possibly see his friend 6 miles away, because his line of sight would have put his friend 24 feet below his line of sight. Well, the Earth doesn't curve that quickly, because the Earth is much bigger than that.
Right.
So it would be maybe close to a matter of inches, or even a matter of centimeters, at such a short distance. But this is this is what he claims is proof that the Earth is flat, because his buddy went 6 miles that way. And if you believe in the government and all their conspiracies, I shouldn't be able to see him, but I can see him 6 miles away. Which, I don't know if he used a powerful goddamn telescope, but it's pretty damn hard to see 6 miles, even if it's a straight distance.
Right.
But I don't recall them talking about anything like a telescope or binoculars being used. And even then, for the times, it would have been pretty damn hard to see somebody 6 miles away. I mean, through parallax, they would have just been really tiny.
Right.
But anyhow, he wrote this book and he had this cockamamie experiment. And upon his death in 1884, the people that he had duped created the Universal Zetetic Society, which just made them sound and feel more important than they actually were. You could have called them a confederacy of dunces. Literal reference.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. But these Florons published a magazine called The Earth, Not a Globe Review.
Don't they believe that the sun spins around the earth? Isn't that what they believe?
No, the Earth actually, yes, the sun spins around the Earth, and somehow they still have a day and night, but if the sun is above the Earth, they don't really have a model in which they're able to only illuminate half the planet as what happens in actual reality with day and night and time zones and all of that shit.
Right.
But it's just, yeah, it's just further proof of they can try and explain one thing, but they can never actually explain multiple things at the same time, like day and night and seasons. Because you can't explain seasons. I mean, you can over a flat surface, but if you actually break it down, then the Earth has to be way bigger than they actually estimate it to be. And if you have a flat surface and you shine a light on it, unless there's a big mountain, the the parts aren't going to get dark and light at the same time. It's which is why, I mean, you can just punch holes in this all day long if you were an actual rational thinking adult. But anyhow, so this Universal Zetetic Society, which basically what their doctrine was to consider all options and don't believe what actual science tells you, because that might not actually be the real thing that's happening. So they publish this magazine, The Earth is Not a Globe Review, which pretty much puts their message on Front Street. Earth, not a globe. But they also started proselytizing ideas such as children shouldn't be taught astronomy in school.
Wow. And they don't believe gravity is real either.
Nope, gravity's not real. Evolution is a hoax. They entertained theories that if the Earth was not a disk, it's a cube.
Ah, but if it was a cube, then you would be feeling like you're walking up a steep hill all the time.
Right, but then the cube theory still allows for some gravity, but also allows that the Earth is actually flat because a cube has flat sides.
Are you just going to walk into space?
Yeah, and are there actually corners of the ocean in which you could see all three or three different sides of the Earth at one time? No. So their ideology, or as I'd like to term it, idiotology, it took hold in the US and it fizzled out by about 1940, but its ripple effect continued with ebbs and flows, usually centering upon some catastrophic event that shook people to their core. Gas shortages in the 70s, 9/11, presidential elections in recent years. Today, these flat earthers fall into pretty much three separate categories. All of them believing that the earth is flat, but they all have their own ways in which they came around it. There's the conspiratorial, and I'm doing air quotes here again, we'll work on the videos, but doing air quotes, the scientific, and the religious or spiritual viewpoints. So, the conspiratorial. These tinfoil haberdashers look at the world around them with such a narrow vision where nothing is ever as it seems. Sasquatch, the moon landing, who shot JFK, what happened to Marilyn Monroe, did the Lindbergh baby die, is the Mandela effect a real thing? With all these hoaxes and perceived government cover-ups, is it so far-fetched that a global or saucer-shaped conspiracy could exist wherein they're hiding the fact that the world is flat? I mean, honestly, how many people would have to be in the know in order to keep such a large conspiracy that the earth is flat? How many people would have to be out there just being like, no, it's a globe. Everybody knows this. Spins around the sun. And they just indoctrinate you. But ultimately, flat earthers are just trying to spin that story, and they're trying to do their own indoctrination, which goes against every empirical fact and data that we have. So that's the conspiratorial side of this. Then there's the scientific. Again, air quotes. Bunny on bunny. Scientific. So these are the folks that seek to answer the question of Earth's shape, but often with misguided and downright stupid experiments, such as water levels itself. If the Earth was round, water'd just fall right off the planet, which would never happen because we have a little thing called gravity. The Earth's core is a giant iron ball which has a lot of dense mass, which causes gravity, a force that draws everything toward the epicenter of that mass of gravity. So the dangerous part of these scientific followers is they often have better language than sort of the other wackadoodles, and they can offer more convincing arguments. But if you have an actual knowledge base of science and physics and the ways of the world, or sorry, the ways of science, then you know that you can pretty much shoot holes in them all day. It's better than shooting fish in a barrel, because their theory is much like Swiss cheese. But most of their explanation disregard actual scientific proofs, like gravity, because they're the ones who are like, well, if you had a ball and it was rotating really fast, and he poured water onto that ball, but the ball is still rotating, all of that water would just spin out into the universe. And it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of true. But the Earth spins pretty damn slowly. And because it's a ball that has more gravity than, like, say, a tennis ball, it can actually hold on to the water that's around it. If it spun a lot faster, yeah, sure, that water would sputter out into space. But it literally takes a day, 24 hours, for the water or for the Earth to make a full rotation. And if you were to sit on a merry-go-round and have somebody turn you over the course of an entire day, so you make one rotation in 24 hours, you're really not moving that fast. It's just in astronomical terms. I mean, like, that's another thing. They don't allow for the the vastness of space and the actual size of the Earth, where, yes, I mean, we might be that tiny blue dot that we have a picture of from the Cassini. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but when Cassini turned around on its way to Saturn and it saw a tiny blue dot, and that was Earth, and it showed a vast space and expanse around us, and we were just a tiny blue dot. It was one of those things where it's like, this should be a unifying thing. But no, people were just like, that's not us. We're the universe. We're bigger than that. And people were just like, no, we're just this little tiny blue dot. But I digress. So basically, though, they disregard scientific proofs, gravity, shape of water. Another one that they like to say is like, well, water will level itself, or water can't bend. But if you drop a couple of drops of water onto a sheet of wax paper, or you put a drop of oil in water, what does it do? It bends and becomes a bubble.
Right.
So water can bend. Water doesn't always go flat level. So it's just, I mean, it's a stupid argument. And for years, students of all ages have proven theories time and time again, mathematically, physically, using truly and purely scientific methods, that there's a lot smarter people than those that believe that the Earth is flat. Which brings us to the next group, the spiritual and religious, those taking the Bible literally. Because creationism lines up pretty close with the theory of the flat Earth. The global agenda is meant to hide the creator of the true creation. These people completely disregard science. There's no dinosaurs, no evolution, no gravity, no nothing. And then, just even within the flat Earth movement, there's infighting. Some believe that the flat Earth is that Truman Show style studio, and that's all there is. The universe is just a greater part of the conspiracy, while others believe that the flat Earth does exist within a greater universe. I think these are people who are just trying to, like, cover their ass when they're sitting at the table and there's a whole bunch of smart people there, and they're like, "No, you fucking idiot! the Earth exists within a grander universe. All of the laws of physics apply within this universe that we know, and the Earth is round. And they're like, well, okay, the Earth exists within a greater universe, but it's more like a giant flying pancake. But basically, all of these flat earthers seem to latch onto the idea that we are more significant to the universe than just that tiny blue dot floating through the cosmos. So, where I can't fault them for their beliefs and wanting to think that we're greater than we are, I also just can't give them an ounce of credit because of my belief in scientism, as they might say. But ultimately, it's empirical knowledge that they were just not privy to from wherever they came from. And if that ain't a kick in the nuts, I don't know what is.
All right, this is Two Nuts in a Sack signing off.